Do you want to know how much I love that Vinland Saga Season 2 greatness? I had a cavity redone earlier today, and instead of waiting a few hours for my mouth to come down from the half-frozen hell that it's currently dealing with where I can't feel half of my lip, I'm like, nah, I ain't gonna wait. I ain't gonna do the normal thing. I'm just gonna immediately, as soon as I get home, start watching that Vinland Saga greatness, and I'm so glad I did. This episode begins arguably for me, probably fight of the season. Like, I know the season's still early, but when you consider the fact that Thorfinn is arguably one of the strongest characters in Vinland Saga, and Snake is arguably one of the strongest characters we've seen in Vinland Saga, if Thorfinn was fighting to kill, I think I would 100% bet money on Thorfinn beating Snake, just from my own what I've seen, what we've dealt with. But Thorfinn's in a different headspace now. Thorfinn is no longer going to fight with daggers in his hands. He'll still fight in the same stance, which is brilliant. So his fighting style, he doesn't have to learn and adjust. No, he can still fight in the same stance. But instead of fighting to kill, he's going to fight to wound and to protect. This is what I figured eventually would happen. You can rewind a few videos back. I was like, I firmly believe Thorfinn isn't going to kill again. I think Thorfinn has walked a new path, that he's no longer going to hurt people. However, what you usually do in these cases, whether it's a badass monk or someone who's done so many horrible things and no longer wants to commit the same atrocities, you make it so they have a stick, right? You cut off the sharp end of the stick and you hit people over the head. There's ways to fight without killing, and this is a moment where he has to fight if he wants to give a just tragic love story a second chance. And honestly, I'm here for it. I do have a full live reaction to this wonderful episode available on my Patreon if you do want to see my full uncut thoughts. This was a great episode. It pretty much functions what you expect at this point. The first 15 minutes of this episode or so, it's characters emotionally breaking down. You feel for them. You say, damn, these characters have been through some things. And by the end of it, once you start approaching the finish line of this episode, you think, okay, yeah, they're definitely going to drop a big bombshell. And pretty quickly you realize, oh, Snake's way too sharp. He's the sharpest tool in the shed. He turns around and rather than giving them a heads up, he literally runs half the way so he can catch them in the act. And just the whole idea of building into that moment, I'm thinking Snake versus Thorfinn. Could they do that? Because he's not going to kill him anymore. And honestly, it's like, there's no way. They're not going to actually deliver the fandom probably's collective like biggest wish list, which is these two badasses going up. Yeah, they delivered. I love how rather than completely getting rid of Askeladd because, well, he's dead, instead they use him as almost like a spiritual mentor. Whether it's his nightmares, whether it's him squaring up against Snake, there's ways to incorporate arguably his most hated person in existence and who also became a father figure without him necessarily meaning to. And that combination of, are you going to be a warrior? What are you going to do? Are you going to back down? Like, it's just, you can feel what he's feeling. And man, I'm excited to see, because Snake is, I keep saying this, I think Snake is an incredibly compassionate character. I think he follows the rules to the absolute book by the letter. He doesn't miss a beat. But at the end of the day, he's not heartless, right? So we've seen him beat his men senseless and break faces because they pissed him off. However, we also see in this episode that someone killing 5 of his men cannot go excused. He would literally cry himself to sleep, as he says. And honestly, while it might be a bit of an exaggeration, while he may not be breaking down like Arnid in this episode, at the same time, you can see that he cares for his men, and someone, you can't let that slide. You can't just go start tending the fields like Gramps offers. I love how he literally gave him an ultimatum. This is your moment. I can't farm anymore. The farm is yours. You can live a life of raising something alive. Grow those crops. Feed people. Be someone different than what that sword you're carrying here wants you to be. But right now, he can't do it, right? And maybe he never can. But man, an idea of Snake, a man who respects Thorfinn, knows he's an insane warrior. Once Thorfinn like squares up, he gets that almost like spidey sense go off, and he's like, yeah, that's a warrior who is fighting different than I'm expecting, who has an intent to beat my ass, and honestly, it's going to be a fight of the season, in my opinion. Obviously, after this fight's done, we'll still have Canute coming in and raising shit, and ultimately, there's going to be a big battle, but as it stands, like, this is the most exciting fight I can possibly think of, and I'm so excited because it's not just like Thorfinn squaring up against a random soldier, right? It's like, yeah, it's exciting because he's back to fighting, but obviously different, not going to kill, but the idea of going up against one of the biggest badasses that Vinland Saga has seen that is exciting. He definitely will have to disarm him as fast as possible, and honestly, by the end, maybe we'll have fisticuffs just on both sides, but either way, it's gonna be exciting. What I have to really commend though is Einar, because when you look at any anime where like you have a love triangle or anything where it doesn't go as smoothly as the character wants it to, you just kind of feel like, oh, they're the third wheel and it's kind of pathetic. But Einar, you just respect, man. Like, he's someone who we know damn well, like, the dude's madly in love with her, right? But at the end of the day, what he's doing, he's not trying to use her, he's not trying to gain anything. All he's doing is, if this is what you want, girl, I will help you. If you want to run, if you want to try to start a life on the run pregnant, I will do everything I can to help you. And that moment after she's breaking down and crying because her life's a mess and she didn't ask for this, she didn't deserve this. And the fact that one man went to her and said, I want nothing in return. I'm not trying to sleep with you. I'm not trying to do anything other than, if this is what you want, I am here for you as a friend. And you can see the difference of crying from just ugly crying, I'm freaking out, my life's a mess, to you're actually going to help me. And she can tell this isn't a man trying to sleep with her, this isn't her master just using her for this or that. This is someone who genuinely wants to help, and I think that's what made that scene to go from such heartbreak to, even if it can't end peacefully, man, you're giving them at the very least an option to try. And honestly, after what she's lived through and the fact that who used to have so much courage and just confidence in his eyes, nothing but rage and sorrow, like, yeah, she's gonna take you up on that offer. One of the things I really like is how I think we all agreed, I mean, initially when Gramps kind of like fell over in the fields, we were all expecting, it seemed like, him to go out within an episode or two. This bastard has gone from who we thought was going senile and about to kick the bucket to helping dispose of bodies so that obviously Snake doesn't catch whiff of what's going on. Old Gramps has way more left in the tank than anyone else, and at this rate, he's gonna outlive everyone in this series, I'm convinced. But I love how they turned someone who could have just been a simple mentor character into almost like collectively everyone's grandfather in this series. We are 16 episodes into Vinland Saga Season 2, and honestly, pretty quickly into this season, I knew it was going to be special, but man, we have seen such a variety of emotions, action, and all these different big cliffhangers and moments, and whether it's King Canute's side and his plan to get what he needs to in order to build the world he sees fit, Thorfinn running away from violence but coming back to it in a more healthy environment so he's not going to kill but he's still going to protect, Einar, and just honestly, Einar just a goat all around, man. Like, everything about this season has been remarkable, and I'm so happy that the quality continues. I mean, this season got delayed a couple of times. Well, not really officially delayed, but the director every so often would pop up on Twitter saying, apologies, but we're still working on it. We're still tending the fields. They let this season cook, and it shows in the quality, and I'm sure at next episode, that fight is gonna be absolutely well animated and produced and pure excitement. Thoughts and feelings yourself, though, down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here. Be sure to ring that bell, of course, so you can get notified when I upload on the channel. And like I mentioned, we do have a full live reaction available on my Patreon if you're interested. And while you're there, you can also get a video shout out. So today we have the Blue Savior, Anthony Bonkton, Moloko, and Octavia Hutchins. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.